The consumer decision-making process. What is it? How do we buy things? What are the factors that influence the decisions that we make to buy? These questions are ones that marketers like me obsess over, because if you think about it, when we understand the process that we go through to make a decision, we can work to create content that supports that process, that makes it easier for people to decide to buy our products and services. So this is what is termed the consumer decision-making process, or consumer buyer behavior, or the decision-making process. There are lots of different ways of describing essentially how we buy stuff. That's what it is. It's just how we buy. And so your understanding of that process for your specific product or service will allow you to create better, more compelling messaging around your product or service. It's simple, isn't it? So let's dive in. Let's have a look at what this decision process looks like. Hey, I'm Colin Scotland. I'm a marketing coach and I help wonderful entrepreneurs just like you to make waves in the world with your message. I help you to amplify your message with marketing that converts, that resonates with your ideal clients. Ultimately, that comes down to how well you understand your target clients, what makes them tick, what makes them move towards saying yes to what it is that you do. In fact, there are a plethora of processes for this, and this is exactly what makes marketing sometimes quite confusing, because there's the buyer decision process, there is the customer journey, you may have heard of that, there are marketing funnels, there is the AIDA, awareness, interest, desire, action, there is the simplified version of awareness, consideration, decision, and there are, you may have heard of attract, engage, convert. I've literally lost count of how many of these different ways of describing the same thing I've come across. It's crazy. Ultimately, there are three key areas of the process: awareness, consideration, and decision. So let's have a quick look at that buyer journey. The first step is around awareness, and this is the realization that we have a problem. So we're driving along in our car and car advertising is coming along on the radio and we're completely oblivious to it, right? Because we're thinking about where we're going, what we're going to do when we get there. We're completely oblivious to that message because we are not aware that we've got a problem. We're driving our car, everything's hunky-dory, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, we have a blowout, the tire goes, or the engine fails, or something happens. And that acts as a trigger point to make us realize, uh-oh, we've got a problem. We need to fix this problem with the car. So now we've entered this problem recognition, this awareness of the problem. So we may have had an issue with our engine and been completely unaware of it for the last 30 miles driving along the highway. So we become aware of the problem. And it's really important as marketers to understand who you are speaking with and where they are in that process of making a decision, because you could be paying for advertising, paying to get your message in front of people who aren't aware that they've got the problem, just like me when I was driving the car before it broke down. So there's an awareness level here, problem aware, problem unaware. It's important to consider and have in mind where somebody is at when you are speaking to them. Solid marketing is all about solid communication. And solid communication happens when people understand and interpret your message in the intended way. So ultimately, if we appreciate and understand where they're at, we can encode our message the right way. Therefore, it can be decoded in the way that it's intended. Simple, right? Once we have become aware of a problem, then we set about taking action towards resolving that problem. So we go on a information search where we begin to be receptive to information, knowledge, potential solutions to that problem. In the example of the car, we might start looking at car manufacturers, researching local garages or local mechanics so that we can get the problem resolved. Two things happen here. One is that we do a search of our memory banks and what we already know. We look inside of our brain and we see, oh, you know, I've got a mechanic friend, I can just ring him. I've been to this garage and that was an awful place, dreadful service, cost me a fortune, never going to go back there again, right? And the second is the external search or the external environment. This is where, as marketers, you can be present in that external search. So I go into Google and I search car mechanics near me. If I'm a car mechanic and a marketer, I can make sure that I appear in those searches. So I can be on Google search, Google My Business. I can have reviews in Google and Facebook. I can appear when somebody searches mechanic near me in that geographical region, right? That's marketing. That process is marketing, is what gets you the conversations, the clients, and the sales. Of course, the search then narrows itself down, and I begin as this person metaphorically trying to fix my car, right? I begin this process of going through and then evaluating the alternatives. So I can ring my friend, I can go to this garage, I can go to that garage, I can do this, I can do that. And from those alternatives, we have a criteria that happens. Not going to go into the psychology of this in any level of detail. That's not relevant. What's really relevant right now is that you understand the process. Where are they at, and how do I use that knowledge to help me get more clients, right? That's what's going to make the difference. So we evaluate alternatives and we make a choice. We decide where we're going to place our time, attention, and invest our money to fix the problem. So if you think about it, when I buy the services of a mechanic, I'm not buying mechanic services, I'm buying a solution to the problem of having a broken car. That's subtle but really powerful and really, really useful for you to understand, is that people don't buy products and services, they buy solutions to problems. So how does your product or service solve a problem for somebody? Once I've made the decision to purchase, then it doesn't end there. So then we have what's called in marketing, the service delivery. We have the actual process of experiencing the service. If it was a mechanic's, it would be driving into the place, the reception, the environment, the way that I was treated, all of those things. And then it would be the outcome after the service delivery has been complete. How satisfied or dissatisfied am I with the outcome? If my car puffs smoke and explodes on the way out of the parking lot, then I'm not going to be too satisfied, right? Ultimately, this is another area that as marketers, as entrepreneurs, you can create content environments that make sure that people get not only the best solution to their problem, but also after the fact, they're left with a great sense of a fuzzy, warm feeling around the thing that it is that you do. It's really important because that feeds in to the repetition of the process. It's a cycle. So next time I have a problem, remember one of the first things I did was I scanned my internal memory and experiences. So that feeds a big portion of that decision to buy in a particular place, a particular way, or a particular brand or a particular service. And so hopefully in seeing what this decision process looks like, you can begin to appreciate why content marketing becomes so important, why branding becomes so important, and why positioning becomes so important, and experience of the service itself, referrals, recommendations, social shares from people who've experienced. That all plays such a powerful, powerful role in my evaluation of alternatives and the decision I then make to buy this product over this product. And as marketers, you have a duty and responsibility to prepare and create content that facilitates that movement from one phase of the decision process to the next. A really simple way to look at this is the acronym ACD, awareness, consideration, decision. So when they are aware, we need to have content around that. We need to have content that supports their information search about how to fix it, possible solutions, how things could be better for them, and how are they going to get from A to B now that they're broken down, right? So you need to create content around that awareness phase. And then consideration, when we're looking at alternatives, it becomes much more about the process, how you can deliver unique solutions to their problems. So having content that emphasizes that and communicates the benefits is, again, super, super critical. Making the decision as easy, as effortless, and friction-free as possible. So this is where marketers become obsessed with CTAs and user design and flow between website pages and landing pages and funnels and all of these cool and interesting things. Ultimately, it all boils down to making that decision process, so that if it was e-commerce, it would be the checkout flow, making that decision process. If you're a coach, it might be the process for them to get into a conversation with you, process for them to purchase your product or service, the process for them to buy your course. Whatever it is, it has to be super, super simple in order for it to be effective. And so just by understanding these different levels of the consumer buying process, the consumer decision-making process, buyer behavior, all of these different phrases that mean essentially the same thing, right? How we buy. Understanding how we buy gives you the power to then create marketing messaging that resonates. It resonates because it meets them where they're at in that process, and it helps to move them along in the buyer decision journey. So what do we do with this? How do we go about creating this content? And the answer to that really is rather simple. Ask yourself this question: what do prospects need to believe in order to buy? It's perhaps one of the most powerful questions that we ask in marketing, because now there's no fluff, there's no superfluous information. We are focused entirely on that decision-making process. And we are asking the question, what do they need to go through that process? What information do we need to provide to help facilitate that conversion from awareness to consideration to decision? What do people need to believe in order to say yes? Write down the most important things to your clients before they get to say yes. Will it work for me? I'm in X type circumstances. I don't believe this will work for me. Can I really get results in 30 days? So ask the question, what do they need to believe, and create content around each of those things. Then you're doing what I call creating content with intent. You're creating content not just for the sake of it, you're creating content that drives a conversion, and the conversion is that movement between awareness, consideration, decision. It's that movement from completely unaware to raving fan of what it is that you do, shouting from the rooftops about how amazing your product or service is. So that is an overview of the consumer decision-making process and how you can use this to convert more prospects into clients, but most importantly, to connect with people whom you can help and serve with what it is that you do.